In this video, I basically want to discuss the link between epistemology and philosophy of science, and it goes from, I guess I'm talking about mostly the 20th century logical positivism, and even into contemporary epistemology, because it does all kind of work together. Basically, the logical positivists, what they did is they had a epistemology in that they tried to build knowledge upon a foundation until, I don't know, well, that's Carnap and Schlick, as well as others. But then Neurath came around and he did like a little coherentism thing and tried to, build knowledge in a different way. Basically, we had Carl Hempel who tried to do the same thing. Philosophy of science is basically philosophy of methods of how we move towards knowledge, and issues of epistemology, language, and metaphysics that have to do with all that. It's a very, very brief and vague explanation of it. But we had Carnap, we had Schlick, and Ayer and Quine and those people, and Neurath. They all were first a epistemology because they made a suggestion as to the structure of the justification of beliefs. Carnap in his article, The Elimination of Metaphysics, as well as Schlick in his article, Found the Foundation of Knowledge, basically was trying to put all of science and mathematics and even the language of things around us, that base language, into the foundation of the language of talking about things we see, of the protocol statements, which are basically writing down, like, once I see a certain sense data, I write down. That's my protocol statement. So those are epistemologies in that they are talking about how the structure of justification is, and how it is that we move towards a certain knowledge, and why the other method doesn't really work. But it's also a philosophy of science because they are all talking about the ways in which we build up knowledge about the world around us. It's about how we move up from the current things we know about our sense data, which is basically sense data is basically a patch of a certain color, size, and shape. So if I see this, I can say a certain cylindrical patch with colors of green, blue, red, etc. And I can write my protocol statement down about that. And Carnap and Schlick were the foundationalists of the positivist period, and they were trying to build the language about things and moving in all the more advanced languages about mathematics and geometry and science and physics and all that stuff on the language of sense data, and they're building everything on things we see, just the language of things we see, and it is a linguistic thing because we're talking about building we're talking about building the languages of more advanced things like things and science and all that stuff upon mere sense data. So it's a more advanced, coming up towards knowledge that we didn't have before. It's just a more it's a more advanced just way of going about it, I guess. And they all had their different take on how we do that, on how we get towards, on how we how we found the how we give a foundation to the edifice of all knowledge. And it's pretty neat because that's in the way what I'm trying to say here is that epistemology is in a big way philosophy of science, because it's talking about how we get towards higher levels of knowledge, how we get towards knowledge of things that we didn't previously have, moving from knowledge that we do have and moving upwards towards that, and moving towards things of knowledge that we didn't have before. And epistemology, talking about these structure of justification and thus knowledge, is philosophy of science, in that we're moving upward from our current things, and we're just showing the way that we do that. And we're talking about beliefs and justification and knowledge and the structure given the current philosophers of the times take. It's just a different way of moving towards that, and their epistemology was a way. It's like a different way of getting there, of a way of getting towards new knowledge of new things. I think this is a short video. Let me know what you think about that. I guess the point I'm trying to get at is that I think that in a big way, epistemology and philosophy of science are two things that support each other very, very well, and they're just different ways. It kind of, and that I think also shows how philosophy is more important than we might have otherwise realized, because it's like how chemistry and physics and all these scientific fields do all these hard experimental things and gain knowledge. The philosophy of epistemology and philosophy of science are figuring out as to how that all happens.